For more on the Arctic Circle Assembly, I spoke with Sherri Goodman. She is a senior fellow at the Wilson Center and is an expert on the environment and on security and defense. I asked her what she thought was the most interesting point at this year's assembly.
Well, this year's Arctic Circle gathering that's going on in Reykjavik now is quite striking, I think, for the inclusion of indigenous communities and their voice being heard. And I think that's a very important evolution of Arctic policy overall. So I applaud that inclusion, and you can see it threaded throughout the program, and also the innovation agenda that we see occurring. And I think that's another very important dimension of this Arctic Circle gathering, to highlight the opportunities for innovation from education to technology and across many sectors.
This assembly was founded 5 years ago. So how has this assembly evolved over the years in terms of members, in terms of agenda?
Well, President Grimson, former president of Iceland, co-founded this, and he's sort of made it a go-to place among people who work and think about Arctic matters, and keeps building it out. So obviously there's economic opportunity, education, societal diversity, now indigenous communities and inclusion and innovation. And as we were discussing, China is also a player in this realm as well.
And speaking of China, China's ambitions, they want to build a polar Silk Road to complement the Belt and Road Initiative, of course. And for one, it recently announced the launch of its first domestically built polar icebreaker. Why is that so significant, and what could this mean for research in the future in the Arctic?
Well, China has characterized itself as an Arctic stakeholder in its recent Arctic policy that came out earlier this year. And I've characterized it as the spider web of China's Polar Silk Road, that it sees it extending its Belt and Road Initiative through the Arctic for the purpose of shorter transportation routes. Also, science and technology. I see China strategically deploying scientists across the region in order to understand the changing Arctic conditions and to have access to the energy, minerals, and resources that are abundant in the region. It has made agreements with the Russians to help them exploit their resources, and with the deployment of this new icebreaker, is poised to have more extensive capabilities in the region.
You read my mind for my next question. The cooperation between China and other countries in the Arctic. You mentioned Russia. What other countries do you see China cooperating with in the future, and why is that significant as well?
Well, China's investing in many countries in the Arctic. It's inked a deal with the Finns to create a data Silk Road across the Nordic regions. It's working also with Norway, Iceland, Greenland, seeking to invest in ports, mineral extraction, as well as energy and road infrastructure across the region. That will bring opportunity to China. It could also bring opportunity to those countries. And with it comes sort of the geopolitical risk of a changing region.
Again, that was Sherri Goodman with the Wilson Center.